what you're viewing right now through the lens of is the Canon G7X Mark II. This is the Canon G7X Mark III. Canon did not sponsor this video nor any of my videos. They probably should because every poker vlogger uses. Okay, I'm going to switch to the upgraded Canon G7X Mark III right now. Okay, so now this is the Canon G7X. Probably no big change at the moment. Still probably shooting, I think, I didn't check the settings, but probably shooting at 30 frames per second, which I was just shooting on the Mark II. Same thing. Cool thing about this new camera is that it has the ability to shoot at 120 frames per second, which should be pretty dope for some fantastic slow motion. I don't know why I'm talking to the camera like that. I'm hopping into the Run It Up Streamhouse live stream today. We're gonna play a little home game, and it's all gonna be live streamed. You guys probably have no idea what I'm talking about, so I'm just gonna show you, and we'll go from there.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Run It Up Live. As always, we are streaming with no delay and whole cards up live from the Run It Up studio.
Okay guys, this is the Run It Up Live Streamhouse broadcast that I have grabbed off of Twitch. What is the Run It Up Live Streamhouse, you might be asking? Good question. So this is literally a house somewhere in Las Vegas that Jason Somerville and team has rented and turned it into a proper live streaming studio set. Dropped a poker table in the middle of the house, created a beautiful set, brought his entire team. He's got a commentator to commentate on the action as it goes, and added a couple of additional twists and turns to a traditional live stream. The cool thing is this is not in a casino, and therefore we can do whatever we want to do. It's very much like a home game. If you guys have played home games, you know there's lots of different twists and turns that the games can take. So it's pretty cool. It's a very laid back atmosphere. There's an open bar available, and we got a really fun crowd here, really fun crew on this table. It's going to be Rob Cook, who runs a few gaming bars in Las Vegas. We got Jamie Kerstetter, who is becoming a renowned commentator. She does commentating on the WSOP and several other tournaments. Eric Goldstein, longtime runner-up warrior. Jason Somerville, you guys are very familiar with. Brad Owen, you guys are very familiar with, and myself. So pretty fun group here. We're going to be playing 5-5 no limit with a 1500 max buy-in, which is basically the same game that goes at the win. But there's guaranteed definitely going to be a bunch of straddles. We're doing $100 flips every 3 orbits. Everyone's putting in $100 blind before the cards are dealt, and we all get dealt a hand of PLO, and we run it down to the end and see who wins. So that's the first hand here that kicks off the stream. Lots of fun shenanigans bound to happen. I'm going to be hopping in and out here. Some of these hands that we'll run through in this session are a little bit more straightforward than others. On some of them, I can probably provide some input here and there, and I will chime in. But let's see what happens here. Let's get these games. Let's get these cards in the air.
Nines, yeah.
5 ball.
Can I get?
So what this is just everyone puts in $100. Whoever has the best Omaha hand at the end just wins.
Niner.
Oh, tens and
Yeah.
threes.
I have 2 nines. You're not getting the nut.
Ooh, I have a straight.
5, 4, 7, 8.
I have quads.
Good.
Oh,
That is
quads.
quads. So we have quads here. We got a straight there.
Nuts is gonna win it. I don't think quads wins.
All right, guys, it's been fun. I'll see ya.
Bye.
Probably stakes.
Oh no, we can't go there.
Yeah. When in doubt.
I can't believe that is still up on his wiki. You just can
Chip in a chair thing?
I learn a lot of stuff from wiki. I look it up, and then now I'm like, I doubt all of it.
You have to question
They just
everything.
let me.
What is this?
Have you
Wait,
checked your own wiki?
during this-
Have you checked
no,
your own
I don't have a
recently?
wiki.
Okay, you sure? People
I
may have
don't-
made one for you.
I don't have a wiki.
All right, this is the first hand of note that I played. Rob brings it in with the suited king. Rob has a great personality. He's great table presence. Likes to play a lot of hands, as you can see. I make the call with the queen jack out of position. You could definitely fold this hand, I think. I don't think this is a mandatory call out of position versus the player who is first to act facing a raise from that position. So I decided to call, though. No one likes a nit. Brad calls behind me. We go to a flop multi-way, which comes queen high. Pretty standard check call here on the flop.
Maybe check.
Rob is, he came to play, obviously, and as he does, he just goes ahead and barrels. On the turn, not loving it. There's an obvious straight draw that arrives on the turn. We now lose to queen 10 as well, but I want to see what happens here after one more card. I don't want to just give up, especially versus Rob. I know his general table presence. I know he likes to play a lot of hands. I know he likes to get in there and gamble. The river now puts 4 to a straight on the board, and I'm liking my queen jack hand even less at this point. Disregard Rob's hand here. Imagine that you cannot see Rob's hand and you have queen jack here. Out of position, facing an open from the first position player, and then 3 barrels when you can't even be queen 10 anymore. Still losing to kings, still losing to aces, and the obvious straight draw, as mentioned, arrives there on the turn. Could be behind all 2 pairs, sets, straights, and over pairs. So queen jack, probably one of the worst hands that I could have in that spot. So I just go ahead and give it up, and he shows me the 3, which guaranteed, I mean, unless he somehow opens it up with the 8-3. Not good. Looks like I made a bad fold. So going to take that one. Going to take a mental note there. Realize that Rob definitely is his usual self. He came to play this time. So we get bluffed out of our shoes in that one.
Real life
17
problems.
million.
Yeah. Real life
Like
problems.
double second place.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah.
Maybe raise to 35.
That white run it up hoodie that he wore. He was in Vegas.
I know,
and
I
he
saw
was
that. I was like,
cold,
what?
so he took it out of my closet. It wasn't even like a fresh one.
Yeah.
It was literally my
Snatch.
personal white hoodie that he took.
That's so
But it's
cool,
worth
though.
it for $1 million buy-in.
Yeah.
So in this next hand, it's a pretty fantastic spot here for Rob pre-flop. I make it standard open on the button with queen 10 of diamonds. Brad calls, and then Rob looks down at a real hand very shortly after he just showed the bluff. He looks out at pocket jacks. He makes a standard 3-bet. I'm not in a folding mood now that I just got shown the bluff. I'm looking to play a hand versus Rob, especially in position and especially with suited Broadway cards. So I make the call. Brad gets out of the way. Flop comes pretty favorable for the king 10 of diamonds. All diamonds. We flop the second nuts here. This is a dream spot, basically, especially versus a player that we know is just going to barrel. So there's not going to be too much analysis, I don't think, that goes into this one. He goes ahead. He bets the flop. Could make a case for raising here. We don't want to see an additional diamond that could kill some action, and he could be barreling with some ace-high diamond hands as well. But we also know Rob's tendencies a little bit. We know he's not going to give up too often if he wants to take a bluff all the way. So I'm just going to sit back and kind of do my thing here. There's a little bit of table talk, just trying to play as natural as possible, and just going to continue to call down as long as Rob is willing to put money into this pot. Disregard this live voting thing. One of a couple features here on the Run It Up stream. Jimmy, who is doing the commentary, is polling the audience on whether Jamie Kerstetter's dog or Goldie, Eric Goldstein, should be on the next show.
We have a full bar for your enjoyment.
Really?
Yeah. Some beers in there, some Voodoo Ranger.
Some good whiskey.
All right, good to see the crouton at least.
We get a dream run out here for the king high flush. The board does not pair. We do not see any additional diamonds. Rob's got the overpair. He has no reason to believe that his hand is not good at this point. Once he barrels again on the river, he bets $300, and I only have like 400 something more beyond that $300. So only one play here with the second nuts. I'm just going to go ahead and get it all in here.
I'll show you if you fold. Or you can check your phone. It's also on the stream, so you can
Yeah.
You can just check it 6 hours.
You don't even have to fold. I don't want
Yeah.
300. I'll drink water.
Don't think that this
I'm
one's
all
getting through.
Maybe
Whoa.
it's
Oh boy.
Ooh, and it's
Who has the
now.
flush?
King high flush is good.
Oh, yeah.
Snap call from Rob.
Is that going to make the block? That will probably make the block.
Pretty decent flop there for you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Pretty good flop.
Pretty good run out too. It's a favorite flop.
Huh?
2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 715.
Total?
715 total.
715. Back to even.
Ready to flip some more.
Back to even.
Nice hand, sir. Nice hand. Thanks, buddy.
A while ago, like
Yeah, we should have
months ago
probably
or
should have said
something.
something.
yeah, I just remember being in like
How's that?
very
Yeah, you're good.
Welcome back to full-on poker. 39 months in a
Way too
row.
much. So I picked up everybody.
39
I haven't
months.
played a lot of live cash since the series.
Two real hands going at
But
it.
yeah, I'm only 5 minutes from there, so
Next interesting hand comes when we look down at the second best hand ever created, Pocket Kings. Go ahead and raise it up in first position, and we see 3 callers, 4 ways to another pretty favorable flop here. Running good so far on this run it up home game. Flop ourselves top set, which is the actual nuts here on this board. It's such a dry flop, and we block a lot of the continuing ranges here. So I just decided to slow play it and check it over. Brad decides to bet the 10s, and Jason Somerville pops in there with a check raise on the King 7-3 offsuit. It's going to be tough to do anything when it's on me that's not going to look extremely strong. Putting in a 3-bet on this flop, probably way too strong.
Early. Make sure they have extra tables for us.
at
I think there's like a license thing. They can
Well,
only
no.
get on so many tables.
No, they shut down to one table last time, like at night, and me, Maz, and Sean, a bunch
they
of
were
people came
full.
down, and the whole table was full, and they had
Wait,
Putting in the flat call, also extremely strong. You can see me look over at Brad and just kind of give him a little bit of a chuckle. He chuckles back because he knows something is definitely up here. Jason also knows that something is up here. Again, there's just no way for this not to look extremely strong. I put a little teaser bet out there of $15 just to bring Jason Somerville along. I don't know if that's the best idea considering the fact that he does have a hand that he probably will have a lot of the time, a flopped gut shot. So I should probably bet a little bit more than $15. He's got about a pot-sized bet left behind here on the river, just trying to get some money out of him on the river, which is probably impossible at this point once the exact gut shot that he has missed. Good thing he didn't have 5-6, otherwise that $15 bet on the turn would have looked real dumb instead of just kind of dumb like it does in this instance, but as it is, we'll take it down.
When you peeked, all I saw was the 4. I'm like, oh my god, he hit 2 pair. Here we go. And then I saw the other. I was like, oh
Raising
no.
a set on this didn't make any sense.
Huge letdown.
Why not?
King 7-3 rainbow?
I could raise a set. Why
I
not?
don't think so.
This is a wild card game. You never know what might happen.
I mean, I
This
guess.
is what's great. See,
Okay. It's like the rock.
If
You won the hand that was important, though.
I'm rooting for you to
This
open
hand you
your
don't
hands.
really need it.
I'm opening
Nice.
$80.
Maybe
Wow.
raise the
80?
Oh, he's serious about winning this hand.
Nice. If Andrew wins, he's committed to the straddle.
The double straddle.
Yeah. Damn. So
Big
once
raise
Goldie
up to
folds, I win either
$80
way.
after double straddle. Makes a lot of sense.
Knit.
Goldie with the knit fold. Jason's not folding. Jason has
I'm
2
happy.
cards.
Open up the King Jack here from first position, folds all the way around to Jason, who likes to defend a lot of hands. He goes ahead and makes the call with 10-7 offsuit. Flop, probably pretty standard. Could maybe put in a C bet, but we do have some decent showdown value here with the King High on the Ace-Ace-10 board. So I check it back. Turn, again, we have the best hand here so much that I don't know if we need to really do any betting for equity denial or anything like that. Just going to go ahead and check it back.
Not. But that guy reached out too, though. But
he's a nice guy.
yeah, he's cool.
How do you guys do it, dude? Wherever you guys go,
Or it was actually a different one. RCG usually sells.
I don't know though.
wherever you guys go, you get such big crowds.
Jason could get whooped up here with King High.
On the river, Jason bets $200, and after I check 2 streets back, it doesn't look like I have too much here. I could have some showdown value here, and I could probably be stabbing with some hands that I don't have showdown value with, so he might be aware of that. But he's also going to have a lot of hands where he has absolutely no showdown value himself, and he's going to try and take that pot down. King High, again, decent hand here, decent hand to call with, I think. So just kind of is what it is. Jason's going to earn himself some action. He likes to play a lot of hands, and he's going to get paid here on the river.
Think of how cool it is. Like
A king.
cash players don't get glory, so you
Thanks.
give them a chance to like get
Yeah.
glory, be on the
Yeah.
stream, have their
Be on the
family watch.
stream,
Like it's a really
exactly.
cool concept.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I like this if we do like vote someone off the game.
Yeah,
If you
it
hear
just
it
comes
printing,
down,
you're
yeah.
like, oh no.
Oh no, it's gonna be me.
I'll spoil your 3.
Here we see another fantastic feature added to the Run It Up stream house. The viewers, the viewing audience, they can type their comments into the chat box, and Jimmy, who is doing the commentary, he will approve certain comments to be printed from a printer that sits above the poker table. It will print out the comment, and then we can read that comment and get either a chuckle or a cringe.
Let's see.
Definitely standard Twitch.
Bushy Quad says these players are too nice to each other. I need some trash talking.
Fair point.
I mean, Jamie's just such a bitch.
Damn! All right. Canister of trash has been opened. Straddle, all right? At least let me get the straddle in.
All right, let's come to this.
Whoa. That
Uh-oh.
was, if you had Andrew was the first one to triple straddle.
Brad.
Is that the triple straddle
If I
tilt, or
win
is that
this
just
one,
the
I'll
triple
triple straddle
straddle?
next time.
All right,
Exactly
looks like
what
we're
I
having a
expect
nice
a coward to say.
5, 5, 10, 20,
Brad
40.
wins this one, then if he triple straddles, I'll
Can't
quad
even hear you. He's got a.
Your quad straddle
Yeah.
from the small blind?
It's hard to get
from
it.
the bottom.
Try and give chat what they want.
Yeah.
If you have to win this one, and then you triple
Oh,
straddle.
I would
Then
say
I
I
would
would
quad
I
straddle.
would,
Forty
I
to
would
Brad.
quad straddle.
Six-handed
Look at
game.
Nathan,
Action
just
starts
dump
on the
down.
button.
Jamming.
Just donk jam.
Home
Wow.
games.
Just like terrible play. Especially now.
Rob's gonna beat you in there.
Raise
Getting after it.
200.
No.
Goldie with the tight fold with an
All right, I
ace
will
there.
defend. What is it? 200?
2,000.
All right, as mentioned, this is not going to be your typical standard 5-5 no limit game. Lots of straddles, and as promised, this hand is 5, 5, 10, 20, 40. Yours truly putting the $40 straddle on. So action folds over to Rob Cook, who comes in from the small blind with the queen 10 off suit, comes in for the raise, and we look down at the queen jack. We get to play it in position. We have 2 Broadway cards. We're not folding. So we defend with the queen jack. We go heads up. 8-8 deuce, super dry board, about as dry as it gets. Rob checks it over to me, and we could definitely take a stab here. But I don't expect him to fold too many hands for one bet. Even if he has ace high, probably not going to fold. I decided to check it back and play some turns, see what develops on the turn. We both pick up equity. It's a pretty interesting turn card. We both add straight draws, and Rob decides to take a stab here. Again, now that I pick up equity and I'm in position. 2 overs and a gutter ball to the nuts, not going anywhere.
Does look like a call.
I check
Let's
all
see
rivers.
a nice little blood river.
I don't want to see it, and then I'll figure out if I want to call her.
That is a blood river, and you mean proves 2 a straight, while Rob Cook picks up top pair. I'd imagine there's going to be a bet.
River, super interesting card. He makes top pair. I make the nut straight. Pretty gin card there. Obviously, time to go for some value here. Put in the value bet.
Looks like that's a bet of 225.
You sandbagging that 8 the whole time?
I'd imagine that this is going to get called a very, very high percentage of the time. Hard to have a hand as strong as Rob has here.
1990, so
The way that he played it.
Great.
Oh, come on, Brad. Brad, Andrew, you filthy dog. You.
That makes me feel bad. It's like both of you get the.
Both of you.
Gets him with the little needle, calling him
Not
the
even in
wrong
the game,
name.
they get berated.
8-8 deuce.
225.
Welcome to life.
Brad.
Sorry, sir.
No.
Mimi adds to the mountain
Really
of
want to
chips
get
in
that
front of
triple
him.
straddling too.
Looked over, you look like you were up to no good.
Well, you called, then I definitely raise.
Yeah, okay, that makes me feel better. In some imaginary universe, that makes.
Okay, we have so far seen the second best hand ever created, and now we have upgraded it to the best hand ever created, the old pocket aces. So we come in for standard raise from under the gun. We see 3 callers, and unfortunately for Jason Somerville, he finds ace king in the big blind, prime squeeze spot. Not going to be a whole lot of analysis that goes along with this hand, so we're just going to watch this one unfold here.
In a really good squeeze spot for him. Seems like he's going to just run into it, though. I don't think he's getting away from this.
So
Andrew could make it 420 here. He could do it. He has the option available. That button still exists for him. Do it.
Here comes the 420 re-raise.
Look at that.
Raise
Boom.
420.
420 it is. We all knew it was coming.
What's after that? 690?
I can't even. I guess I thought I could.
Are you all? It would be all in 690, wouldn't it?
No,
you're a little higher
I have a little
payment.
more than that. Okay.
Likely this
all
is just
in.
going to go in.
Jason's all in.
He's
Good luck,
going to
both of you.
snap it
Got
off.
it.
Jason
Got
with
it.
6% equity.
You got the
It?
aces?
You got queen, queen?
Wow, that's a tough hand for me to beat.
God, did I dodge
no.
it? Don't do.
Chips. Ooh.
Oh?
Not that useful.
Not a very good flop.
It was a fake.
Not
Dead
that
on the
useful.
turn.
Yeah, I didn't see the diamond.
More
There you
money
go.
to the Nemi pile.
No flips, but just straight victory.
Easy.
Easy game.
What can you do?
What
what a cooler.
can you do? Adding to the mountain. It feels so good to stack chips. Just look at that. Just, how comfortable of a situation it is.
Drink slow down.
I feel like
that
someone
shuffle.
needs to make the pot a little bit messy, though. You want to have, like, the dealer, like, knock over the chips so you actually get to stack them. Do you really want to just add piles to your stack?
I was like, are IPAs okay? It's like, yeah. Because certain beers are like filtered through a fish bladder.
What?
Whoa. And that makes them unvegan.
Yeah.
How far along are you now?
6 months.
Wait, you're pregnant?
Middle
Really?
base 5'10"?
No.
Oh, wow.
That's like,
I'm like,
Oh, no.
like, you don't look pregnant at all. I was like,
Oh,
congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, my doctor said I could drink all the way.
I was like, a hell of a 6 months you got going there.
We're working on my second IPA. Just got to make sure it's not filtered through a fish.
Trying to toughen up the baby, you
Yeah, the
know?
doctor said just no fish bladder filters, so it'll be fine.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
Interesting spot that develops here, and not a great spot, as you can see by the graphics themselves. But there's a raise from early position from Rob. Jason puts in a 3-bet from the small blind. We look down at pocket tens. It's one of those spots where every option doesn't feel great. Folding probably feels a little bit too weak. We get to play in position if we choose one of the other two options. Calling seems okay, but we might be turning our hand a little bit face up because there's only certain hands where I might put in the flat call there versus a 3-bet, the cold call. Putting in the 4-bet doesn't feel great though either, because if we happen to get jammed on, we end up probably having to fold a hand like pocket tens, which there's gonna be so many times where Jason has a hand like ace king, so having to fold pocket tens, which would essentially be turning that hand into a bluff, that's not great either. I decide on the second option. I decide to call since we are in position versus the 3-better. Rob is still behind me, of course. He tends to have a little bit wider of a range anyway than the average human being, so not too worried about that.
I'll have you know I just
I feel like I
bought
get a
Rio chip.
He does make the call. We're going 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes 4-3-3, and it's going to be a very troubling situation for us. Jason's obviously going to c-bet here, not just with this hand, but with a wide portion of his range.
Rio chip, which I'll buy back if I have money left, but if not,
That's the kind of thing I would just save
Suck
until
it.
the next time I have to go to the Rio.
well, yeah, that's my plan, but
Jason has to feel pretty confident he has the best of it here. Nemi in an annoying spot. Is he really continuing into 2 players after 3-betting?
This flop shouldn't help anybody, so he's probably going to keep his foot on the gas with a lot of his hands. Pocket kings, of course, is one of those hands. Don't think I can fold for 1 bet. Of course, just going to have to make this call here. Again, see what Rob does behind me.
Like, what does Nemi call
I
with
feel like I
here?
have 0 fold equity.
He is kind of short.
you need to buy on like 2,000 more before the hand, then maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll back you 200.
Don't do it. He's not in good shape.
I'm getting yelled at now. What did I do?
I'll cost 250.
Looks like Rob is going to come along to a turn card.
So it's 3 of us to a turn card, which comes another low card, the deuce of hearts. Again, a very tricky, tough spot here for these pocket tens, especially after Jason goes ahead and essentially bets all in. I think with Rob generally having a shorter stack compared to the size of the pot, I think the play here is probably to fold. The reason for that is that Jason is going to have to show down versus Rob a lot of the time. He's going to assume that Rob is somewhat pot committed if I fold, and then he's heads up versus Rob. So he's going to have to show down a hand that has pretty decent showdown value, knowing that Rob is the short stack and he's still in the pot here. Of course, he could still be doing this with hands like ace king of diamonds, ace queen of diamonds. If he still has a lot of equity, even maybe a hand like ace king, he still might take it to the streets and keep his foot on the gas. Not necessarily sure if that's true, but for sure a hand that has some semi-draw equity like a straight draw plus flush draw, he's not going to just want to give it up. He's probably going to put the maximum pressure on some decent percentage of the time. So we're still in okay shape there. In fact, I think we're a favorite, and I think he's, of all people, Jason Somerville, going to be doing this with a decent number of hands, not just ace king, but maybe hands like 6-7 of diamonds and things of that nature. He's going to want to keep putting the maximum pressure on, see if he can push his equity as hard as he can. So with that in mind, I choose the high variance route.
Oh.
Not that it matters, but I can't do 2 players.
Effectively just calling here.
So much out there for just
Robert getting a really good price, especially once you call the flop.
Lucky river. I don't know. Maybe this will be the right fold.
You got enough cord.
You have queens, I hope?
Nah, you're good.
Don't be a 6.
Ooh.
Whoa,
Seems like
King on the river.
Pretty good river.
Jason doubles up here through Andrew Nemi.
So anyway, not trying to be too results oriented here, but not sure I'm completely in love with my play. Probably could have taken the lower variance route, especially maybe I should be respecting my elders such as Jason Somerville. Granted, I am actually older than he is, but let's be honest, he's basically part of the old guard at this point in his poker career. Let's be honest.
Now we got to bring this live stream table to a meetup game.
Yes.
Yeah,
That would be
that's
sick.
next step.
Meetup games are
You can
cool.
make a portable little cam stand or something. You can just pop up around.
We're actually thinking
Round race
about
to
trying to
35?
find a way to kind of make it a little bit more mobile, since obviously we have like some big equipment now. But putting everything in backpacks somehow would be sick. And like getting a fold-up tabletop somehow.
Not
Not
really.
really.
The table, just the
That's
legs
pretty cool.
collapse in, but just the gearing.
Well, you don't
put
even
it-
need the legs. If you could imagine putting the tabletop on top of a table.
All right, we skip ahead a little bit here. Looking down at yet another premium hand, we get dealt pocket kings once again. Brad brings it in from first position with the ace-queen offsuit, and I'm in the straddle position. I put in a 3-bet. My 3-bet range is going to be pretty snug here. We're incentivized to flat call a lot of our hands, getting a pretty good price, and especially not looking to 3-bet bluff in what is essentially the under the gun razor, but actually in the hijack. That being said, Brad has ace-queen, so can't really blame him for a call. Flop is not a good one for us, comes ace-high, so I slow it down with a check, and Brad plays some pot control, checks it back. Turn is a pretty favorable card, though, not going to lie. King of spades, bringing your second flush draw on board. With 2 flush draws on board, plus some Broadway draws, pretty obvious bet spot here. Going to go ahead and bet it. Could maybe mix it up with some flush draws, but also maybe turn some other hands into a bluff like 10-jack, something like that. Could also be betting a worse hand for value like ace-jack, where Brad might think his ace-queen is good. So after we bet, again, can't blame Brad for a call there. River does complete the front door flush, but you would have to assume that I would bet that on the flop. Just going to be a straightforward value bet here. Going to go ahead and size it up a little bit, but not go too crazy. I go ahead and bet, and Brad himself has probably a pretty good bluff catcher here. He has an ace, top kicker. He's got a diamond in his hand, so he does block some flushes, and he doesn't have any spades in his hand. So probably a pretty good candidate to just go ahead and call it there. And some additional run good that we find. Another pot headed our way.
Pretty solid turn card. For if your name is Andrew Nemi. But Brad Owen, not so much. More stacking.
Boy, this is like it's my
fine.
happy
Escape
moment. This is
reality?
the one time that it comes
That one,
around. You're on
I'm-
my left, where I'm happy.
I think so.
I'm not sure. I'm really bad at directions. Like my navigation spot, my brain is missing.
40.
Too bad you have a hand you like.
Not really. It's kind of mandatory. Wow. Jerk.
Nemi re-raised to 125.
Nemi with another real hand here. You're betting the ace-king offsuit.
Well, good thing the game was earlier, so.
Bank's still open.
Yeah, exactly.
Jamie here with
420?
ace-king
Maybe that was the
suited.
plan.
Nemi re-raises to 420.
3 bets to the
I mean, that's
approved
like a-
sizing.
You guys are thinking real deep. Then.
These are 2 of the deeper
If I can
players at the
bust him by
table.
4.
This is a pretty interesting spot here with ace-king versus ace-king, especially considering that we are both over $2,500 effective.
You're closing. That's right.
I'm way too nitty to not.
You're
have
on my
it.
left.
They started this
Not have
hand
it?
effectively
Yeah.
like 250
Be
big
on
blinds
pick.
deep.
Pretty deep spot here, and not a great spot to be facing a cold 4-bet, especially from Jamie, who's not been getting out of line. But it's pretty funny, though. She initially gives me an offer that I can see a card before I make any decision facing her 4-bet. I say, really? Okay, I'll take a look. And then she changes her mind. She decides that's not a good idea.
With the straddle.
Before I do anything?
For sure.
Really?
I don't know if that's a good idea.
I mean, you can pick. She may or may not show you. May not show you.
Sorry, what was that first Nick? You said do not do that. Okay.
We object to her statement, and we're going to take that stricken.
Yeah. Redacted.
And she takes the offer back off the table. And it's an interesting interaction because I sort of give her a good look over. And I feel like once she does that, she's a little bit hesitant and didn't really have the strongest look about her, when she went through that whole performance, whatever it was. And you can see it on my face here. You can see where I'm definitely considering just ripping it in here, but that's easier said than done. Again, over $2,500 effective versus a player who's not getting out of line at all. I decided to flat call. We are in position, so we can play some boards, see what happens here.
It would have been really hard. I hate one of your cards.
I'm really glad I didn't show that one card. This would be
Yeah,
really hard to play going
this would be
forward.
uncomfortable.
6 side, please.
It's a good start.
6 high, please. That's an interesting statement.
It's a blackjack.
Both players missed this flop. Means that Jamie is going to win this hand more often than Nimi.
Flop comes jack high, and neither of us are in love with the flop. She goes ahead and puts in maybe a standard down bet, $300. Don't want to give it up to 1 bet, so I go ahead and call.
Feels kind of obligated. Nine turn, kind of a brick for both players. Wouldn't be surprised if they both check here, but Jamie would probably win this with another bet.
Check.
Okay, check.
Check, check. Both players just trying to get to a showdown. Seems like.
Ace
Goes
king high.
check, check again, and they
Okay.
expect to
One more card, please.
just chop it up.
Heart. Yes,
Wow,
that
there it
one, yeah. She instantly reaches for it. Thank you.
Nice hand.
Just fire all streets.
I really
He
was
fire
going
all
to show you. You
streets. He
pointed at
folds.
this one too. And I was
yeah?
just like, do I just turn this over here? And then I'm like, I had beer for breakfast. I'll just skip this one.
There is a break in 10 minutes.
All right,
break for
Twitch
nothing?
chat confessional time.
The hands that I've been getting dealt have been above average. So another fun feature here at the Run It Up Streamhouse is the confessional booth. We took a break. We took about a 10-minute break halfway through the show, give people a chance to refresh their beverages, take a walk, get some fresh air, and I hopped into the confessional booth, chatted live with the Twitch chat. Again, there's no delay on this broadcast, on this stream, so pretty cool to be able to interact with the audience, the viewing audience in real time, and they can ask me questions about how the game is going or about anything whatsoever, meetup games, vlogging, etc. But yeah, I can talk about hands that I've played so far and how I perceive the lineup and how everyone's playing and how fishy all these donks are, etc. So pretty cool feature, the confessional booth at the Streamhouse. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna head back out there and try and get every single last dollar on the table. I don't know if that'll ever happen because these guys, they got deep pockets, you know. These guys are all loaded, bunch of rich poker players out there. I'm just out there trying to grind YouTube, trying to make a living, and yeah, okay.
Goldie here folding the super skinny. Should be, illegal, actually. I feel like we should just pick them up.
Yeah, the pizza is actually really good.
You think more people call you Andrew or Nimi?
Probably Andrew.
Jamie calls 40 or 3 player.
Going 3 ways to a flop here, it looks like. 2 little pairs. Oh, could see some blood.
Here we see me eating a slice of pizza and flopping bottom set. Life is good. Life is good at the Streamhouse today. Free pizza and free sets. Contrary to the hand where I had pocket kings on the king 7-3 board where we block a lot of the calling ranges, this is a very different spot, very dynamic board, and we have bottom set rather than top set. So all of the jack hands, all of the straight draws, and all the flush draws are available on this board. So no reason to slow play this hand. Going to be betting frequently, often, and fairly straightforward from my perspective. Let's see what happens here.
Okay, that's 220.
RIU ice machine. Nimi goes for a big bet on this very draw heavy board. It's really scary here. There's so many scary river cards, so many draws available.
The ace of spades.
That is the river card. Nimi here has to feel very confident that he has the best hand, but he knows that a lot of hands that you would expect Brad to have do make 2 pair here, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him go with a large sizing on this river. Looks like he's reaching for big chips.
Mimi bets 475.
Brad has one of those hands that just you don't feel great with anymore here. A lot of those ace-high flush draws that we're bluffing just, you know, get there. You don't expect him to take this size with just an ace at this point. You're kind of hoping that he just has a backdoor flush draw or a flush draw that doesn't include an ace. So like king, queen of hearts, king, 10 of hearts, hands like that. It's gonna get the bad news.
You just have a set like every time or what, bro?
Yeah. What ends up happening is that we end up getting ourselves some Bradley dollars. We go bet, bet, bet. He goes call, call, call. A couple of draws that perhaps miss, some straight draws out there. He doesn't block, and also would maybe think I would slow down with a hand like pocket queens, pocket kings. Tough to say, but sorry, my buddy Brad. Hey, good news, Brad. There's a meetup game coming up this week, Friday and Saturday at the Chicago Charitable Gaming Group in Chicago. So maybe you'll get some of your money back then, huh? Maybe. All right, guys, it's a wrap over here from this session of Streamhouse. Anyway, I pretty much ran like God throughout almost the entire session. I managed to finally win one flip. Flips can make a pretty big difference. If you can manage to win a bunch of them in a row, then that can make a pretty big difference in your session. I won one of them outright, and I chopped 2 of them. I think I had pocket aces a couple times, kings a couple times, queens a couple times. Flopped a king high flush right off the bat. Obviously that helps. And made a couple sets, 2 or 3 sets or something like that. So anything can happen in a 5-hour session, but today the anything that can happen was a good thing. Ran good. Into the game for $1,500. Cash out of the game for $4,545. That's going to be a small little profit of $3,045. Awesome setup over here. Good job, team run it up, and there will be more.